Your life is going to be better before you get to the end of this video. And I know that's a big promise, and I'm not taking it back. So here we go. If someone were to ask you, what do you think are the most essential traits for someone to have a happy, overall successful life? What would be in your top 5? You'd probably say discipline, purpose, consistency, ambition, passion. Those are all great. I wouldn't take anything off of that list, but I would add one thing. And it's an essential trait that most people don't even consider at all. And it's why some of the most successful people, if you were to look at their life, you would find zero reason to complain, still end up miserable, still suffer. It's why for some people, nothing is ever enough. If you want to be truly happy, if you want to be unshakably successful, you need to develop the skill of appreciation. Appreciation is a superpower that most people assume is just a temporary emotion. In fact, some people think it's a weakness because if I focus on the things I appreciate, I'll end up just settling for the life I have. Why would I pursue more if I'm content? And I understand where this comes from, and it's stupid. And let me tell you why. Because appreciation isn't just an emotion. It's a skill that you cultivate. And people who have it tend to be happier. They tend to be more patient. They tend to have stronger social connections. They become better leaders and they end up building things from a place of resilience. Appreciation isn't soft. It's the rock solid foundation you can build everything else on. Let me explain why, and then let's break down some tools that'll help you build a life of appreciation. All right, so let's nerd out on the origin of the word for a second. The word appreciate is to value highly or to set a price to. In other words, it's when you look at something and consider its worth. So let's pause for a moment and consider this. What is your life worth to you right now? So maybe when you think of that question, you're like, a lot actually. It's worth quite a bit, thanks for asking. But maybe in the quiet of your mind, the truth is you're thinking not much. You're not actually sure your value, and therefore you're not sure what other people see in you. And you wonder if that's the thing that's holding you back. And there's imposter syndrome and all of these things that are just symptoms of that greater identity problem. Here's the uncomfortable truth. There are people making 10 times your income right now who still have that feeling. And it's one of the reasons why they're successful on paper, because they feel this constant need to pursue and validate and show and demonstrate their worth. And even when the applause around them is loud, their interior world is quiet and it's lonely. So wait, if it's not money, and it's not status, what the hell makes someone actually appreciate their life? To answer that, we need the other definition of the word appreciate. It'll help us round it out. So to appreciate also means to rise in value. So think about this in the context of the stock market. If you invest, what are you hoping to see? A return, an appreciation of that investment. Or think about this, you bought a house 10 years ago for $60,000 and you spent years plugging away, working on it, investing in it, elbow grease, sweat equity. What do you want to be true about that house today? Well, you're hoping that it doubled, if not more, in value. That's why we invest. Lynn Twist said this, what you appreciate appreciates. So when you consistently consider the value of something, and then on top of it, you invest, what happens? It grows in value. The same is true for your life. When you spend time looking through your life for reasons to be grateful, for things of value, not only do you find it, not only do you feel it, but you actually start investing more of your energy and focus into developing it even further. All right, but please don't miss this. The same is true in reverse. When you overlook things, when you don't pay attention to the value of something, it tends to depreciate for lack of investment. It weakens, it fades over time. And this is where most people live. most people, but not you. Because here's the truth. Regardless of what you think of yourself, the fact that you're here right now listening to this means at some level you find value in your life. You find yourself worthy of an investment. And because of that alone, you are already gaining appreciation in your life. So let's give you some tools right now to help you take this to a deeper level. All right, so I made a big promise. I said by the end of this, your life is going to be better. And here's how we're going to make that happen. You're not going to just listen to this. You're not going to just consider this. You're going to take action now. So you're going to take a piece of paper and a pen and you're going to write down these 3 words: personal, relational, financial. And you can put it in its own individual box for each word. Let's start with personal. Let's start with you. I want you to consider this. What is one way you showed up well recently? Could be something at work, could be something in your relationships, could just be a way you showed up for yourself and actually kept a commitment. Maybe you followed through on something. Maybe you told the truth when you were tempted to hold back because you didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings or you didn't want to step on any toes. Maybe you pulled back your anger when you were ready to lash out and possibly destroy a relationship. But instead of blowing it up, you breathed it in. Maybe you exercised. Maybe you ate better last week. Whatever it is, I don't care how small you think it is. I just want you to capture a few of these in that section. All right, now I want you to think about a personal habit or trait or tendency that you have that maybe you overlook. Maybe you're so used to it that you don't even realize it's valuable, but we're gonna pause and actually consider it. Maybe you have a strength about you, an endurance that helps you stay consistent when other people fall off. Maybe it's your sense of humor. Maybe you're funny, and maybe some of that comes from adapting to your surroundings, overcoming trauma, but for whatever reason, you have the ability to make others laugh, and you can laugh in the face of adversity. Write that down. Maybe you're a curious person. Things that go over most people's heads, you nerd out on. You zone in, and you pick all the tidbits and details that other people miss. That's valuable. I can't even overstate how powerful that is. Write that down. This isn't about puffing yourself up. This isn't about arrogance. This isn't empty affirmations. This is you considering some things, some values in your life that you actually tend to overlook. And if you overlook it, there's no way you can slow down and appreciate it. When you see the assets in your character, you stop negotiating your worth and you start investing to grow. That's why we're doing this. All right, now let's move to the relational. This is about your family, your friends, your coworkers, and it's nothing to do with a popularity contest. It doesn't matter how many people you know. This is about where encouragement, goodness, and connection already exists in your life, even if it's small doses. All right, so here's what we're looking for because we want to capture these people and we want to do so by name. Maybe there's a coworker who, for whatever reason, you just get their sense of humor and they make you laugh like hell whenever you're together, and usually at the most inappropriate times. Maybe you have a friend. You don't get to see them much. You don't talk too often, but they always text to check in. They always see how you're doing. Maybe you have a partner who acts as your biggest supporter. And this for me is where I hit the lottery. I am incredibly fortunate to have this in my life. Maybe you have a child or children who, whenever they walk into the room, it doesn't matter what's going on. It's like a ray of sunshine. It just brightens your world up a little bit, which is also true for me. Or maybe you have someone in your life who you don't even really like all that much, but they respect you enough to call you on your bullshit. And maybe that's why you don't like them, because they see those hidden parts that you don't want anyone else to address, and they call you higher. Capture that person's name. Notice what happens just by thinking of these people. Just by writing their name down, writing something about them you appreciate, notice the shift in how you feel. There's a warmth, there's a boost. Here's how we're gonna drive this even deeper. And this is something you need to do right now. Don't hesitate. Don't tell yourself you're gonna do it later. You're gonna pause the video and do this. All right, here it is. I just want you to pull out your phone and I want you to find someone in your contacts that you care about at any level. And I just want you to text them one specific thing you appreciate about them. The more specific you can be, the better. Do that now. Don't wait. Do it now. All right, if you actually did it, here's the two things that happened simultaneously. You appreciate that person just a little bit more. Just the act of considering it and typing it and sending it made your appreciation grow. Two, that person feels better about themselves and better about you, and therefore your relationship has grown in value. What you appreciates, and it's transferable. Your relationship, whatever level it's at, is now stronger. It's better. It's something that you can build even more on. All right, let's move to what can be the most sensitive one of all, financial. And I'm willing to bet you're not where you want to be financially. That's okay. This is not about writing where you want to be. It's about properly viewing where you are. I want you to consider what's already working, what's already sustaining you, what's already supporting your life in this moment, even if that's hard to find. All right, capture this. What is one way money or resources or access has supported you in the last week? Maybe it's a meal that you didn't have to provide for yourself. Someone else bought it for you. Someone else shared it with you. Maybe it's a bill you were able to pay, and maybe you were worried about it, or maybe you just paid it because that's what you do. You didn't have any worry. But how often do you stop and even just consider, I can pay my bills. I can sustain my life. It might not be the life I dream of, the life I aspire to, but I'm able to sustain myself. Think about how valuable that is. Maybe there was a problem you were able to solve because you had just enough to make it happen. That's worth writing down. That's worth appreciation. Now think about this. What is a financial decision you've made recently or in the past that sustained you or moved you forward in some way? Maybe it protected you from something. Maybe it isn't what you spent. Maybe it's what you said no to. You were able to resist the temptation of that sale or getting another item that you don't actually need or really want if you consider it. Maybe you couldn't invest money, but you invested your time in learning a new skill that eventually will help you make more money. All right, here's the last one. What is something you used today that yesterday's version, some past version of you, made possible by investment? Maybe it's education. Maybe it's skills that you developed and acquired. Maybe it's some connection or network that you were able to form. Maybe it's a tool or a subscription that saved you time, money, energy. All of this matters. All of this is value, but we miss it because we don't consider it. We don't capture it. We don't slow down long enough to understand its value. Here's what this is. This is not pretending you're satisfied. Yep, I don't need anything more. I've got it all right now. That's not what this is. This is about acknowledging that your financial life is not stuck. It's not static. It is appreciating or depreciating by what you invest in it, by what you focus on. All right, here's what this boils down to. When you start recognizing where value already exists, you stop operating from scarcity and start connecting to abundance. And this is the difference between wanting more and being ready for more. If you did even just one of these exercises, I promise you, your life is already measurably better. You already feel connected to your goodness, your greatness, your essence at a deeper level than you did before you started. But I want to share one more thing with you. I want to share a quote, and I don't say this lightly, that shifted the trajectory of my life. Melody Beattie says, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Gratitude, as far as I'm concerned, is just another way to say appreciation. And here's what I have come to see. Once you start cultivating gratitude and appreciation, on your worst day, when everything seems to be falling apart, when the walls are closing in all around you and all you can think about doing is giving up, you could sit down at a table with a pen and a piece of paper and capture reasons in your life in that moment worthy of gratitude and appreciation. And once you access that, once you unlock that, What can't you overcome? What can't you get through? Why wouldn't you start that business? Because even if it fails, I still have something to hold on to. Why wouldn't I love? Because even if they walk away, even if I lose, they were still here and I found value. Appreciation is what everything else is built on. You build your life, you build your relationships, and you build your finances on that. You're unstoppable. This is the key to true happiness and lasting success. And now you have it. If this practice landed for you, you're already doing some of the work that we focus on in the Betterment Project. Our goal is to help men develop real world competence where it actually matters, where it actually counts. Check the links.